Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to continue our Oscar predictions. We're going to do director screenplay in this video. Let's start off with directing. This is a hell of a race, folks. I hope it's a tight race because there's a lot of amazing filmmakers in here that I want to be nominated.
But they can't all fit, can they?
They can't all fit now. Once again, I feel like DGA is not going to be that hard to predict. It's going to be hard to predict who the Oscar boots out for like those international picks.
Right.
Because I think that the obvious contenders for director are really One Battle After Another, which is arguably the only movie that's actually locked for the Oscar nomination here. And we think PTA is going to win pretty easily. Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Sinners, and Sentimental Value. Those are like the obvious contenders. I really feel that it was just an accident. If that's in picture, which I believe it to be, it's going to end up in the directing category. They're going to kick somebody out.
The question is, who really seems like they could not get kicked out? Maybe only Paul Thomas Anderson seems like a complete lock at this point, because we know the director's branch causes chaos. You have the films that you are sure are going to get nominated, and they will snub like the Best Picture winner, you know? They'll snub Green Book, or they'll snub Aaron Sorkin for Chicago 7, that they really admire. Again, auteur directors. Like Audiard never stood a chance of being snubbed. That was like...
that was a pipe dream for anybody predicting it.
But
and what we learned was that if you're in the Cannes competition, the track record is excellent that you'll get in.
Right. And so which films are from the Cannes competition this year?
Sentimental Value.
Sentimental Value.
It was just an accident.
And it was just an accident. Jafar Panahi. I agree. Jafar Panahi is in my 5. I just think if it was just an accident, if I have any faith in that at all, I'm thinking he gets a director nomination. I don't think it's that hard.
Maybe most of the movie you're like, I don't know if this needs like a director nomination, but like that last 20 minutes, oh my goodness. Like that is masterful filmmaking.
Panahi is the face of the film. Any familiarity with his filmography leads to, someone wanting to give him accolades for this.
Right. And the director's branch likes to show their taste. When they have an opportunity to nominate somebody like a Thomas Vinterberg or even a Paul Pawlikowski for Cold War, like they'll take that opportunity. Panahi's been making films relentlessly for over 2 decades, and he's made a lot of great stuff. He won the Palme d'Or, and they are going to continue that. I really think he's going to show up. I know it's hard to see because it's so crowded, but I'd be really, really crushingly disappointed to not see him in the lineup.
I'd be pretty shocked if he weren't there. And I'm acknowledging that this is going to get pretty messy, okay? So I'm trying to think who I would say is a lock, and I cannot say it about anybody. Now, when we think about what films could they snub, aka what films or directors are not safe, I thought Conclave last year wasn't totally safe because it kind of merged into that thriller territory, and though it was more
sort of a populist contender too, and also Edward Berger, he didn't get nominated for his last film.
I'm thinking like, what is really secure? What's an auteur filmmaker who feels like if they snubbed him, it wouldn't make any sense given their brand?
I didn't have Josh Safdie in before I saw the movie because I was kind of just waiting to see what would be of it. But now that I've seen it, I actually think there's really not a world where he gets snubbed. I think he is very close to being a lock. This is just the kind of movie that does not miss director. It's going to get a 90 on Metacritic, I believe. The A24 contenders tend to get nominated as well. The only one that hadn't is Past Lives. That was like number 10. There's a top 5. It's also ambitious, and it's from an auteur who, we get to nominate him for the first time, Josh Safdie, and recognize his contributions.
I absolutely think the angle here is Josh Safdie's body of work is very solid. And this film just feels like such an auteur-driven vision. It's very uncompromising, but it's also an audience hit. Like, I think it's a real crowd movie. I don't know if it's a crowd pleaser. I think it's a movie that really gets the audience riled up. And in a way, it's kind of a thriller. Like, there's a lot of thrilling elements, especially the sports elements. Do you think maybe like the comedy and thriller elements would maybe make him not secure?
Nope. I think that he's like Todd Field for Tar, like Lanthimos for Poor Things. Like anyone who's not predicting that and thinks that that's going to be the weird snub, I'm like, it's just not going to be him.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be him that's snubbed.
I think Marty Supreme, too. My real belief here is that it's a top 3 contender. If you think about what films could really challenge one... I mean, look, I know One Battle After Another is not going to be taken down. Let's just say, like, that wasn't in the race right now, and it was, like, Sinners, Hamnet, Marty Supreme. I really think I'd be wondering whether Marty Supreme is going to triumph. Another film that I think is a huge contender is Sinners. And for a long time, we were like, maybe Sinners can win Best Picture. And I think it will do very well with nominations, but it won't win Best Picture anymore. I think Ryan Coogler should earn this nomination, especially for that midway shot where it's that long take that goes through like the history of music and communicates volumes with just image and sound. But I'm worried because this film, more than Marty Supreme, indulges in those genre elements. And maybe that's not a bad thing because The Substance is like a genre bender. Get Out was a genre bender, and those films were pretty secure in the director category. I kind of have to wonder with the vampire elements whether maybe the director's branch, being very highbrow, will consider that juvenile.
No, I don't think that's so. Dune and Barbie getting snubbed, that caused a big stir.
Yeah, it's more about like the blockbusting element, the studio element.
But it does feel like an auteur vision, and Ryan Coogler at this point, may need recognition. But maybe him coming from that blockbuster world is maybe less appealing to the director's branch, or perhaps
he didn't come from the blockbuster world. He was an indie filmmaker,
but he's been there since. But then this is him like bringing that back. I mean, I have no reason to think he would get snubbed.
I still think Sinners is going to be a strong contender, right? Like it's very much critic.
Yeah,
it's still going to be like a critic's top 5 film.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of why it could get snubbed, and I feel like it's too easy to say, because it's a blockbuster and they've snubbed blockbusters. Like, they have snubbed Nolan for Inception and Villeneuve for Dune. Like, they do that, but Sinners is such an original movie.
It's not like $1 billion.
It's not like $1 billion thing. It'd be insane if he got snubbed. It would be just as insane as like anybody who's ever been snubbed from the directing category for him to not make it for this movie.
I think the devastating thing too would be, this is the kind of snub that if it happens, he wouldn't be snubbed anywhere else. He's going to get DGA, Critics' Choice. He might not get BAFTA. I actually would predict that he will not get a BAFTA nomination. That's the only place. It was more of a success in the US than overseas. And also, BAFTA did not embrace Black Panther whatsoever, where the Academy Awards nominated that.
They also didn't nominate Get Out for Best Picture.
Yeah.
They nominated BlacKkKlansman, but sometimes they don't go as hard for these movies that are
from African American filmmakers,
like the African American experience. I don't know what it is, or they just maybe you say they're racist. Like, I don't know what you want to say, but it is true. They've never nominated Denzel Washington. What the fuck is that about? I think Sinners will do well at BAFTAs. It'll get tech nominations. It'll get screenplay. Might even get Best Film. It could be a little weaker there, and that could be the kind of thing that goes, that's going to be the snub that the Oscars make to get Panahi. 24% of the film's gross came internationally, and 76% domestic. That's pretty American leaning, I gotta say.
I'll just say that I actually see people moving both Sinners and Sentimental Value, especially, out of director. Like, Sinners has been moved out of director 5% in the last month, and Sentimental Value has been moved out of director 14% in the last month.
People are making room for Josh Safdie.
Yeah. Those insights come to you from Award Expert, which is now on web. Go to awardexpert.media, and you can see the media website that I'm starting to put together. This is like the first iteration of it, so much more to come, but feel free to let me know your feedback on that. And keep checking out the website because I'm making lots of updates. Now, Hamnet actually has the second most people predicting that as a director nomination. It's 93%, and I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Hamnet is a beautifully orchestrated film. It has lots of passion from voters. She's a previous directing winner, absolutely an auteur, and I think in this film she kind of upgrades her abilities. And I think in a way it's more impressive than even Nomadland. That's a hard one to deny that would get nominated, and it's not like a thriller.
They probably would. I mean, it's going to get a bunch of tech nominations. It's a top 5 contender. Yeah. She's a previous nominee. I guess what if she's like the Catherine Bigelow Zero Dark 30 thing? Zero Dark 30 was probably 5 or 6 for Best Picture. Hamnet's not going to dip that low. That's going to be like 4 at worst. There's really not a reason that Chloe Zhao or Ryan Coogler should not get nominated. We should talk about Sentimental Value, because I see a lot of people taking Joachim Trier out for director. Maybe they're onto something in that film is less about like the visuals, and it's kind of just about like the drama and the characters. But they've also gone for that many times over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, they went for Anatomy of a Fall in director. It's also probably going to be Neon's Priority. Like, the #1 Neon film that was a big Cannes contender is not going to get nominated for director.
Really? I mean, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but maybe you could see it more as like, okay, the film's going to do well in the acting categories, and that's where it's like, well, that's where the real meat is, and the directing is more subtle.
Yeah, but even like Another Round, you could say the directing was kind of subtle. Like, they'll still go for that if they love the filmmaker. And Joachim Trier, I mean, he's not going to have his time with this movie. I really feel like he will just show up. Even if it's scary, they have to snub a big American film to do it. I have considered it. I could have considered that it could be like Marriage Story, which also similarly, though, that was like a #6 for Best Picture, and it wasn't as high as maybe we thought it would be when it premiered, sentimental value, I think, will be probably number 5. And maybe that's where, like, okay, Sinners and Hamnet and Marty Supreme and One Battle are all above that in Best Picture, which maybe makes them stronger directing contenders. Right. But again, that's not always how it works in the directing category.
That's right.
Being in the Cannes competition, I think I gotta have sentimental value in still.
Yeah. I mean, think about, there were 3 films in the Cannes competition last year that were nominated for Best Picture. All of them got directing nominations, where in a category that's usually a bloodbath. Why would you doubt this? I mean, when was the last time a film was nominated from Cannes in Best Picture?
Wrong.
Never?
Not in recent Oscar history. As we get more Cannes films in, right, it may happen eventually.
But let's also acknowledge that with sentimental value, it's about a director. It is very much a personal statement from the director, you know, into this Stellan Skarsgård's character about like what his relationship with his family is, what his relationship with art is. So maybe it's something that directors will relate to.
Directors don't need showy direction always either. Like, they nominated A Complete Unknown. They nominated like Jason Reitman twice, and Alexander Payne got 3 nominations.
It's the fact that he's an auteur filmmaker. His style is recognizable. But yeah, Worst Person in the World was kind of close to Best Picture. It's not like nobody has seen this man's work before. I mean, his work is very well known, and it goes back further than Worst Person in the World.
So sometimes the snubs come from somebody who's kind of like striving for legitimacy, and they won't give it to them. Like when Nolan got snubbed a couple times. Or maybe
because like, they think of them as being in this world of like, well, you're already well recognized. Like Denis Villeneuve, you already get those studio projects. So look, maybe you just have to, you know, when we're making this list and we're ranking the films, maybe you got to go sentimental values number 4, just for the sake of argument. Like, let's not say a Cannes film is getting snubbed, right? And then you're between Sinners and Hamnet, and you have to fucking choose. Like, if that's the logic, then you're between Sinners and Hamnet. And Sinners is a studio film. It was produced by Warner Brothers.
The number 2 for Warner Brothers also. I don't know if that matters. I mean, coming out early in the year too. Again, a lot of these early year contenders that do really well actually do make it into directing. Jordan Peele for Get Out and Wes Anderson for Budapest Hotel and George Miller Mad Max. Like even some of these blockbusters.
No. That's not a problem. That's not a problem as early year.
I think almost any year they're nominating Coogler for Sinners. But the thing is that the BAFTA weakness could be like the internationals are less interested. Boggles the mind to think any of these 2 would get snubbed. And I do agree, Chloe Zhao, there's something about it where, man, that movie's a juggernaut, but what if they just kind of see it as like too much of a weepy? I'll be outraged as anybody if like Sinners doesn't get nominated. Even despite the fact that this lineup would be stacked either way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if Ryan Coogler is the snub, it's not like you can't easily say which film or which filmmaker these things should have gotten out. This is the kind of bloodbath that happens in the director's branch. There's only 5 slots here. It's not like Best Picture where you can just appease everybody. I feel like I've kind of argued this myself, and I really hate to say it, but the way I'm seeing it right now, could change, is that Ryan Coogler is number 6. Because these other films are so strong.
Maybe they do disrespect blockbusters a little bit.
They do.
Branch, yeah.
Yes. You could see them snubbing a film that is kind of a thriller with vampires. Like, you could see it.
Hey, selling 70mm of it all, like all that shit.
It was, yeah. You could maybe make an argument again that maybe Josh Safdie's film is kind of thriller-y, but I'm not going there because
that's not what a thriller is.
Yeah.
There's nobody like running around with a gun. I mean, no other choice. Like, we have that slightly in picture. That just feels like if it gets in, then you're not going to nominate Park Chan-wook. I mean, he's freaking going nuts in that movie. That movie's loaded with like amazing details and choices throughout. But if that movie is just the 3rd Neon movie, maybe it can get in off of like a screenplay and kind of slip into the 10.
I think No Other Choice seems like it's going to struggle a little bit getting the nomination for Best Picture. So even if it gets in, it feels like it's kind of coming up from underneath. You know, it doesn't have a solidified place in that category. Maybe if it went to Cannes, it would be a different story, but that is just kind of how it is right now.
In another year, I think that it could easily be the stealth contender. But again, we have so many of these critics' picks. He could get Golden Globe. He could get BAFTA. We'll have to see about that. Beyond him, I'm not really taking anybody that seriously. I mean, I think that if there's one person who might take out Joachim Trier at DGA, which would suck, would be maybe Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah.
Why do I think that? I mean, that's kind of weird.
Why do you think that? Well, if House of Dynamite ends up doing pretty well and is Netflix's obvious main horse, she's Catherine Bigelow. She made another thriller. It was a well-made film.
Yeah, they didn't even nominate her for Zero Dark 30. The Oscars didn't.
Right.
And this is not as technically like... Well, I mean, it's technically impressive in some ways, but it doesn't have the budget of her other Oscar contenders. It's not as sprawling of a film.
And I feel like people are also thinking, we've seen Catherine Bigelow's style before. It feels a little bit removed from this decade. It feels more like the 2010 style of that like shaky cam when after camcorder photography became more popular. It's like the way to adapt it into the mainstream. Not as widely used now. I think people are just a little bit less impressed with it. But yes, I think she could get DGA. Not taking her that seriously for an Oscar nomination.
The fact that you think that she's like 5 or 6 for DGA, though, you should put that in picture, right?
I just don't know how that film's gonna go, but I agree with you. I think your logic.
Because I don't think that I guess that Frankenstein or Jay Kelly, if they end up being a clear Netflix #1, could get director at DGA, but I think they won't get the Oscar now. I actually have The Secret Agent at #8 for directing, because if that movie gets into Best Picture, that one director at Cannes, he's a filmmaker who's been making a lot of critically acclaimed work throughout the past decade.
I could see that. I think that's definitely worth considering. It's definitely in the top 10. I have Begonia at number 10. I really don't think Begonia is happening, though. So maybe I should have something else.
Wicked for Good will get Critics' Choice, and then good luck to anybody else. Maybe DGA actually could. Maybe DGA will do Wicked for Good. They'll put John Chu in this time.
Mona Fastfold, Testament of Anne Lee, super long shot. And Noah Baumbach for Jay Kelly. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be so silly to predict somebody like John Chu for director at this point. Original screenplay. Kind of funny that I had him outside Best Director, but I have Sinners winning original screenplay.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen.
This is not locked. It's kind of a competitive race here.
It's very
competitive. A few of these films could win, but Sinners has a original screenplay written all over it in some sense. Hyper original. It's a genre bender. It's probably a top 3 contender. And the filmmaker behind it is someone that you want to award, which I guess you could say about these other contenders as well. I think the Academy would love to award him here. Even, and if he got snubbed in director, it might even give them an extra reason to want to award him.
No, doing too many backflips.
It's not.
Oh, if he got snubbed, then they want to give him another award more?
Yes.
You could just as easily argue, okay, well, the Academy doesn't like him that much.
No, the director's branch is very independent of the rest of them.
I know, but that's the kind of argument where it's just easily it doesn't feel that convincing. I think Marty Supreme could actually win screenplay. What do you think about that?
Why?
Do you think it could win? Because it might be number 2 for Best Picture.
Does it feel like a screenplay winner?
Kind of. Yeah.
Not really.
I saw it that way a little bit with the comedy. And the dialogue's very memorable, very sharp.
In terms of a typical screenplay winner, I think it's maybe not quite sticking out to me as much as sentimental value in Sinners.
I think it's debatable, but we can move on to sentimental value.
It may very well be a bigger contender than sentimental value. That's the thing, though. That's where I might put it above it.
I think sentimental value is a contender to win as well. I think the screenplay for that stands out because it's so dialogue heavy. And it's just very well balanced and nuanced and detailed about its characters, and it really lets the audience kind of fill in the gaps, but it gives you enough information about the characters. I would love for that to win screenplay, but I do feel like Sinners is more compelling than sentimental value because it feels more like that original screenplay that they like to award. I think there is a chance that Panahi could win for It Was Just an Accident because that script feels very play-like. There are monologues, there are some really long treaties that the characters are delivering, and it even kind of likens itself to a play in one of its scenes. I think the dialogue there is also very rich and layered. So
I agree, but it's
also a way to, I guess you could award him in the international category.
That movie is not top 5. Why would it win screenplay over these top 5 contenders?
I was just wondering if maybe it's possible, but I think you're right.
You're thinking of Anatomy of a Fall, but I gotta say, Anatomy of a Fall in original was up against what? Past Lives? Anatomy of a Fall, I guess, beat The Holdovers.
Yeah.
Once again, though, you could argue that's because we don't know the writer of The Holdovers. It's not like the writer-director of the movie.
I'll put Sinners at number 1 with you, but I'm going to do Marty Supreme at number 2. House of Dynamite I have at number 5, but this could easily be swapped out for Jay Kelly for me.
I mean, September 5 got a screenplay nomination, why couldn't this?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a lot of dialogue in the film, and it's very well researched, which is what you can say about a lot of Catherine Bigelow's recent films.
So, I mean, it's that or Jay Kelly, I think, for, depending on which gets into Best Picture, I would say.
Yeah, it's really about that.
I mean, Jay Kelly probably makes more sense on paper as a screenplay movie.
Right.
But again, I'm worried that people just won't take that strongly to that film. I have at number 7, The Secret Agent. Maybe that's kind of close to picture.
I don't think there's a scenario where this film is strong enough where it gets the screenplay nomination. I mean, think about I'm Still Here, where
picture?
If it has that resurgence at the end of the year.
No. I'm Still Here. People weren't even talking about it as a contender right now. in the way of Secret Agent, when it won 2 big awards at Cannes, it was like, okay, maybe we have to put that, on our radar. Like, there's not that many other contenders here. I mean, I know maybe you have weapons over it.
I have weapons over it, and here's why. I think if you don't care about House of Dynamite J. Kelly, the kind of obvious choice, because there's not a lot here, is Weapons. For a lot of people, like, Weapons screenplay stood out. The way that they told the story was clever to a lot of people. Like, doing this sort of, you follow a different character, and then you go back in time and follow another character.
It's a successful original movie. It made a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it maybe happening. I think the film is not completely dead as an awards contender because you've got Amy Madigan in the conversation. So I really think like it's something that critics groups could start to nominate, because if they're doing original and adapted separately, they have a number 5 slot where it could just find its way in.
Yeah, but the conversation around Weapons was so much of like, oh, does this movie really dig that deep? And that's where I think that doesn't do the screenplay very many favors.
Yeah, that was the conversation on Twitter.
No, it was the conversation in person with people.
But I think the way most people see Weapons is it was just a really fun movie.
Yeah, does a really fun movie get you a screenplay nomination?
Sure, maybe.
And it doesn't actually really very often. Is this thing on? I came out of that thinking maybe that could get a screenplay nom, but I just don't think it's really that strong. Maybe it's The Big Sick or something, but The Big Sick was kind of close to getting Best Picture. Kind of was. So I just don't think Is This Thing On is going to make that big of a splash.
That's fair. What about Blue Moon? I mean, maybe that film with its contention in the acting categories, like Ethan Hawke is starting to become a contender. Maybe with
Sony Pictures Classics.
Yeah, Sony Pictures Classics. I've heard a lot that it's very dialogue driven. Not surprising for a Linklater film. Play. And that it's play-like. Maybe with these like Ethan Hawke monologues and such, it could get a nomination there.
That's fair. I should put that on the list.
The Testament of Ann Lee, I really don't think that's a screenplay film. Sorry, baby. I'd love to see that get a screenplay nomination, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Adapted, one battle after another, I easily have winning this. I mean, I know some people have Hamnet. I just do not see it, guys. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson has been nominated in writing 6 times. That's for more than half of his films. And I mean, it's got everything that you would hope for in a Paul Thomas Anderson film. It's funny, it's unpredictable, it plays with genre, and above all, this is just another place where you can shower Paul Thomas Anderson, which is what they're going to do in March. It just is what they're going to do. He's going to have 3 Oscars in his arms.
Even if One Battle weren't winning Best Picture, you could easily see it taking screenplay. Paul Thomas Anderson is equally as amazing of a writer as he is a director. And the writing really shines here. I mean, I just think this is kind of a lock, if I dare say it.
I mean, why would Hamnet win screenplay?
Yeah, I don't think Hamnet would win.
Chloe Zhao already has an Oscar for directing, so it's kind of it feels secondary and like not that important to give it here. And is it really like the dialogue that stands out the most, or is it the poetry?
You have to believe with your full chest that Hamnet is winning Best Picture to say it's winning here. And I don't.
They're not going to spread the love. They don't do that. They don't do that anymore, and we all know this. I have no other choice at 3 for screenplay. I think that's a little maybe a little crazy.
But wait, why do I have that? I have that too.
I'll tell you why. Because at BAFTA, it's absolutely happening. BAFTA will have Begonia, yes, they will. But BAFTA won't have Wake Up Dead Man, Springsteen, Frankenstein, there's just no other contender that is more likely for the BAFTA. That's great. Also, the script for No Other Choice is freaking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And amazingly woven. And it's also a comedy.
I agree with you. I really do feel like he's going to get this nomination, which is a weird thing to say that I'm so confident here, but then in Best Picture, I'm not so confident.
I'd also love to see the Critics' Choice go for it. If in one category, Critics' Choice, getting just a screenplay nomination as an international film can be a big deal at Critics' Choice. Remember, Worst Person in the World, that got a screenplay nomination. Didn't have to get Best Picture.
But you could argue maybe No Other Choice is just nothing all year, maybe?
I don't think so. I mean, man, we already pointed out, it won international at TIFF. It was one of the hottest freaking tickets there. And even at NIF, it's just a must-see movie for everybody.
Sure. There's also Begonia, which is a must-see film. And
I have Begonia.
I think that's going to get nominated. The script really stands out. It's very dialogue-heavy. Helps you in this category. Funny, sharp, very conniving. Will Tracy, up-and-coming screenwriter. I'm going to have Wake Up Dead Man at number 5 right now. I think this is as good as any of the Knives Out films in a sense. I mean, I don't think we're tired of the Knives Out films. Like, maybe there's a little bit of fatigue with nominating Rian Johnson, but I'm not really feeling that. I'm feeling like people are still pretty excited about it.
I had him on the outside thinking that there might be fatigue.
Yeah.
Because I just remember that people soured on Glass Onion a little bit after TIFF, and the same will probably happen to an extent here. It did end up getting in, though. I think it's a matter of competition. Like, if there were a lot of Best Picture contenders here, I wouldn't be like, oh, how do we snub Wake Up Dead Man? Like, it just wouldn't get nominated. But now I can see that Springsteen, there's just no urgency to nominate that in Screenplay. But maybe Train Dreams could get a little nomination here. Throw out a bone here. I mean, Sing Sing got nominated for Screenplay. Same writers.
Maybe.
That film has some really memorable poetic lines in it.
I guess. And you really remember it more for the atmosphere, though.
And it has a lot of fans, too. Some people really love that movie. And it's kind of, we said it ourselves, kind of a contender. Like, it might get a nomination here or in cinematography.
Frankenstein, I have it in Best Picture. Maybe I should have it in Best Screenplay. But I don't think anyone cares about the script for Frankenstein. It feels like it was a pretty straightforward adaptation of the book with maybe some changes.
I think the fact that it's an adaptation of a book, it's just such a source material film that they could give it the adapted nomination. Maybe Begonia, Wake Up Dead Man, these very, finely crafted dialogue films have maybe a better shot than Frankenstein, which seems like it's kind of more about the presentation at the end of the day.
Right.
Dune was very much about the presentation, but it got a screenplay nomination because of the source material.
I mean, another Best Picture film here, Wicked, which the first one did not get nominated.
That's why I'm not predicting this one. I'm over it.
Sing Sing got nominated over Wicked last year in Screenplay. I don't know why the second film would get nominated and the first didn't. I mean, there is less competition here, though.
It's not going to get nominated.
Life of Chuck, I have at
get out of here.
10.
Nuremberg's number 10.
Nuremberg's
number 10.
Nuremberg's probably number 10. Unfortunately, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie is not coming out this year. But
it wouldn't happen either way, unfortunately.
It wouldn't happen.
And it's not happening next year, by the way.
No, it's not. But that was fun to have it in at number 5 for a little bit.
I think Begonia and Wake Up Dead Man are definitely snubbable. We'll see how the Train Dreams campaign goes, really. And those are director's screenplay predictions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
What do you think the director's branch is going to snub?